Hello, world! Here we are. Becca and Spencer.
It's us.
Okay, so when Spencer and I first met, I would say probably the first thing that connected us was finding gospel parallels in Disney movies. Do you think that's fair to say?
I think so.
Yeah, it's one of our favorite pastimes is finding the gospel as told in Disney movies. And we have a theory that if you're looking, you'll be able to find it in every Disney movie. I wanted to make it a challenge though. So I asked on Instagram earlier for people to share the first Disney movie that popped into their head. And then we decided that we were going to watch the movie that the most people suggested, which was Toy Story. So today we sat down and we watched Toy Story, took some notes, and we were looking the whole time to find the gospel of Jesus Christ within Toy Story 1 specifically. So here's what we found.
At the beginning of the movie, we see Woody, and he's Andy's favorite toy. And he loves being in charge. He's the leader, and he obviously is a pretty good leader, and he brings people together. But once Buzz came into the mix after Andy's birthday party, he started to become jealous. He started to become competitive and did everything that he could to try to assert his own authority or dominance over Buzz, out of a fear that Buzz might be Andy's new favorite toy. It's super important for us to know that this life is not a competition. God didn't put us down here on earth so that we could compete with each other to try to make it into heaven or to return back to him or whatever we feel like our competition might be with each other. He put us down here so that we can learn together, to grow together, and to all return to him together to fulfill our purpose. At the beginning, Buzz wasn't competing at all. He was doing his best to help others as well as to learn their culture. He was super excited that he was accepted into their culture. Mm-hmm. And Andy inscribed his name on me. And so...
but I think it's interesting that at the beginning of the movie, Woody misses out on so much because he's just trying to be better than Buzz. Whereas I feel like all the other characters progress as a result of Buzz being there. Like, they're willing to accept feedback. Rex finds his freaking awesome roar. Like, everyone's thriving
and because they're working together. They all start working out.
And Woody just misses all of it because he's so focused on himself that he not only doesn't see the good in the people around him and the things that they can do for him, but then he definitely doesn't give out any good either.
Right.
Yeah.
And amidst that, Buzz originally didn't understand his purpose or his existence as a toy, which we'll talk about in a second. But Woody lost his sense of purpose and his sense of why, his understanding of what his role is. His role originally was to help everyone see that they have a place in Andy's room, that they help make Andy happy. And Woody lost sight of that, and he wanted Andy all to himself, sort of a thing, and Buzz couldn't have any of that. And so, and I think that's ultimately what also brings Woody and Buzz around, so that they can become such good friends and loyal companions for each other, is finding that purpose.
Well, it's interesting because Woody, yeah, you're right. He loses sight of what his purpose is, while at the same time, Buzz is so fixated on what he thinks his purpose is as a space ranger that he's missing the opportunity to fulfill his role as Andy's toy.
They're sitting there overnight, and over in Andy's house, Bo looks up at Andy.
Bo Peep.
Bo Peep, yeah. Mm-hmm. Bo Peep looks up at Andy, and Andy's super sad that he's missing Woody and Buzz. and he's holding his cowboy hat. And Bo says, if only you could see how much Andy misses you. And I think that is really important. You want to say why?
Yeah, because Woody was so caught up in competing with Buzz that I don't even think he was thinking about Andy anymore. It was just the competition at that point, and he lost sight of Andy, and Andy was missing them, and Bo was able to see what his purpose was when Woody couldn't. That he was there to love and serve Andy. So in that way, Andy is symbolic of our Heavenly Father, which maybe sounds weird, but there are so many times in our lives when we get so fixated or caught up in whatever's going on in our everyday lives that we lose sight of what our purpose is, and Heavenly Father misses us.
Yeah, and I think that Woody realized that again to bring both him and Buzz around, and so we can see a service element in focusing outward on others, because Buzz, after he jumps off the top of the staircase thinking he can fly, because he's like, I'm a space ranger, I'm not the toy I just saw on TV. So he jumps off, his arm breaks off, and suddenly he's Mrs. Nesbit, and he's all loony, and Woody has to do everything that he can to even get him to leave the tea party, to walk into Sid's room, to try to go out the window. So Buzz is just a mess, and he starts talking about how he's not a space ranger. He's just a toy, a stupid little insignificant toy. And when Woody hears that, he comes back around and he's like, oh man, I have to teach this guy about who he really is. And that this dream that he has of being a space ranger isn't all that it's worked up to be, because he has a better, more important purpose that impacts someone. So
we wrote down what Woody says to Buzz there. He says, Buzz says, I'm not a space ranger. I'm just a toy, a stupid little insignificant toy. And Woody says, being a toy is a lot better than being a space ranger. Look, over there in that house is a kid who thinks you're the greatest. And it's not because you're a space ranger, pal. It's because you're a toy. You are his toy. I mean, that's totally about our Heavenly Father and how he feels about us, because we are his. And we get so caught up in, but I want to be this, and I want to be this glamorous space ranger, or whatever it
is that is cool in the sight of the world and stuff. And it can definitely be a part of who you are, because he's fashioned after being a space ranger. And like all the army men, they act and talk like army men. Yeah. But they also know that their purpose is to be Andy's toys. What he was teaching him, and Buzz was like, well, heck, there's a kid over in that house that needs you. Needs us, is what he said. And so Buzz said us. And suddenly, from that point forward, there's no competition between the two of them. It's us. Mm-hmm. And that's how it goes from there forward. They become great friends, understanding that that's their purpose.
They have a common goal that they're working toward, and for Woody and Buzz, it was getting back to Andy.
They light the rocket, and because they ran out of batteries in RC, and they're flying up, and Woody's like, "This is the part where we blow up," and whatever. So the rocket blows up, but Buzz broke the duct tape, and they're flying, and they fly past the moving truck, and Woody says, Buzz, you missed the truck. And he says, we're not aiming for the truck. And that's because what Woody taught him impacted him so much that it's not about just being with the toys because you're a toy. He knew his purpose, and his purpose was to love and serve Andy. And so they went straight for the minivan and landed right next to Andy, because that's where they knew they had to be. That's where their
sights were so set on him.
Yeah. Once you find your purpose, you zero in on it, and that's what you go for. And so And it made such a big impact on Andy. He didn't know that they were gone the entire time, sort of a thing. But like when they showed up, he was like, "Oh, Mom, Woody, Buzz!" And like he was so excited. So the choice he made and the understanding he had influenced him to go straight to Andy and to fulfill his purpose. So
yeah. So we're all trying to get to Andy's room
mm-hmm.
and trying to love and serve Heavenly Father. Obviously not Andy, but we're all working together. We all have different roles to play. The barrel monkeys are important. Lenny, the binocular guy, is important. The soldiers are important. Bo Peep is important. Slinky's important. Like, they're all so different. We're all so different. But when we work together, that's when we can accomplish great things in being able to build God's kingdom.
Yep. And so that's how Toy Story relates to the gospel.
Ta-da!
If you guys have any more insights or anything you'd like to share, or parts of Toy Story that we didn't include, feel free to share that with us.
Yes,
We'd love to hear what people have to say about Disney movies and how it relates to the gospel of Jesus Christ. So.
Yeah, if we could extend a challenge, with it being Sunday and we're all stuck in the house right now, this is a perfect opportunity for us to hone in on our spiritual lens. And I think it would be a really fun activity if you were to sit down with your family or your spouse or your friends or whoever you're stuck in the house with and turn on a Disney movie and see how many gospel parallels you can find in them, because they're everywhere. So that is our challenge to you. And this was a lot of fun. So maybe we'll do another one because we've got lots more movies to talk about. So
and probably lots of time.
Yeah.
COVID-19's still out there.
We'll be here. All right. Okay. Happy Sunday.
Bye.